You know, AI is absolutely everywhere, and it's promising this incredible new age of productivity. But as we all race to adopt it, a really critical question is starting to pop up. Are we gaining all this efficiency just to lose our own intelligence in the process? So today, let's unpack that tension, what some are calling the productivity paradox of AI.
And look, these productivity gains, they're not just theories. In heavy industries like manufacturing, predictive AI platforms have been used to slash equipment downtime by a massive 20%. I mean, that is a huge, tangible win for the bottom line.
And it's not just on the factory floor. In the world of enterprise software, companies using AI for marketing have seen engagement with their target accounts just explode, surging by as much as 300%. The numbers don't lie. AI is an incredibly powerful engine for growth.
Okay, but with all that power comes a pretty provocative question, one that's moving from science fiction right into the boardroom. While AI is busy making our businesses smarter, is it maybe making us, well, dumber? And this isn't just clickbait. It's a really serious strategic question.
To even begin to answer that, we have to understand the hidden cost. We're going to dive into a concept that researchers are calling cognitive debt. And we'll start with the science of how our brains actually interact with tools like AI.
So, it all starts with something called cognitive offloading. Now, this isn't some newfangled idea. Come on, we've used calculators and GPS for decades to offload stuff like math and navigation. But AI takes this to a whole new level. It lets us offload not just simple tasks, but sometimes the entire thinking process itself. And that has a direct impact on our neuroplasticity. The best way to think about it is that your brain is like a muscle. The neural pathways you use get stronger, and the ones you don't, well, they get weaker. It is the classic use it or lose it principle. So when we consistently offload deep thinking to AI, we're basically risking letting those crucial cognitive circuits just atrophy. And the most immediate result of this? Something called digital amnesia. You probably know it as the Google effect. It's that feeling of, why bother remembering this? I can just look it up later. AI just supercharges this, making information so easy to get that our brains have even less reason to do the hard work of actually remembering things. Now, I know this might sound a little theoretical, but it's not. There was a groundbreaking study from the MIT Media Lab that put these very ideas to the test, and it gave us some of the first real data on what happens to our brains when we lean too heavily on AI. The setup was actually pretty simple. They had 3 groups write some essays. Group 1 could only use their own brains. The second group could use Google, and the third group, they had access to ChatGPT. What they found was pretty fascinating. The EEG scans, which measure brain activity, told a really striking story. The ChatGPT group showed the lowest levels of brain engagement. In fact, the very brain waves that we associate with memory, with creativity, and with deep thought, they actually decreased for this group over the course of the study. And you know, it wasn't just about what was happening inside their heads. The quality of the work took a hit too. Human evaluators consistently described the writing from the AI-assisted group as homogeneous and, well, soulless. It was missing that unique spark of human thought. This is what led the researchers to coin the term cognitive debt. And you should think of it exactly like financial debt. You get the short-term benefit, right? Speed. But you're racking up long-term costs in the form of dulled critical thinking and weaker memory.
And this, right here, is where that productivity paradox really takes shape. Because this cognitive debt, it doesn't just affect us as individuals. It starts to erode the core skills that make a business competitive in the first place.
So, what are we talking about, specifically? Well, 3 really high-value skill sets are at risk. First, critical thinking, because we're just consuming answers instead of analyzing them. Second, creativity, because it's so easy to get anchored to the very first idea the AI spits out. And third, problem solving, because we lose the practice of just struggling through messy, unstructured challenges on our own. The long-term danger here is actually pretty profound. If your junior employees are offloading the very tasks that are supposed to build their expertise, they may never develop the nuanced judgment they need to become senior leaders. And that creates a massive bottleneck in your talent pipeline down the road.
Okay, so the risks are clear, but this is not a doomsday scenario, I promise. The threat of our brains turning to mush isn't inevitable. It's just the result of a passive strategy. So let's shift gears and talk about a strategic, proactive response.
A really robust response stands on 3 pillars. First, you've got to create a culture of what you could call cognitive hygiene. Second, you have to fundamentally rethink how you approach training and development. And third, you have to be really intentional about the kind of technology you build and buy.
And this is a brilliant way to think about that second strategy. Using a framework like Bloom's taxonomy, we can be really deliberate about our workflows. Look here, you let the AI handle the lower-level tasks, remembering facts, applying simple rules. This frees up, and frankly, it forces humans to operate at the top of the pyramid, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. It's all about smart task allocation.
The third strategy, well, it comes down to demanding better technology. The gold standard is a design philosophy called human in the loop, or HITL for short. This isn't about an AI just giving you a final answer. It's about designing systems with intentional checkpoints where a human has to review, correct, and approve the AI's work. It forces active engagement.
So when you boil it all down, it comes to a defining choice. Are we implementing AI that replaces human thinking, which just leads to complacency and skill loss? Or are we investing in AI that augments human ingenuity, acting as a catalyst for our own cognitive growth? That is the fundamental strategic decision that leaders have to make.
And that leaves us with one final question to think about, not just for executives, but for every single one of us. Take a hard look at the tools you use every day. Are they encouraging you to just passively consume information, or are they actually pushing you toward active, critical engagement? The long-term health of our collective intelligence really does depend on that answer.